All right, guys. So this is our last chapter of The Power of One More, and it's kind of a tribute here to his dad, but I think it's important for all of us to kind of have some takeaways here. So this is going to be a free flow conversation. We may go over tonight. I don't know. I think it's one more. And he says, I've had many epiphanies since I started writing The Power of One More. However, one of them stands out above all others. I realize my life and business philosophy comes from my relationship with my hero and my father. He talks about his father. And my belief that people can change, and the reason I'm in the field of helping people do better in life is because the man I love and looked up to above all did just that. And so, I think that was a real great tribute, to his father. He says, although I've shared several things with you, none is more essential or difficult for me to write about than one last more. And you guys, if you haven't listened to the audible version of this, he loses his shit at the end of this. He's cracking the whole time he's reading it. So it's really good. And, of course, he says, over the course of a lifetime, this is a story of how my father taught me one of life's most precious lessons. Lesson of one last more begins here. My father was a banker, and then he goes on to say he was an alcoholic for the first 15 years of his life, paid a horrible price as he suffered through his disease, and by extension, the people he loved paid a steep price too. Think about where we are all at. We've all had our struggles. It doesn't have to be alcohol. We've all struggled with our health, and we can lift up and inspire people just like he's done, and we are all doing just that. For that matter, think of how many lives each and every one of you have touched. It's creepy because I'm almost to the point where I looked the other day. It's almost 1,000 people as a result of me getting healthy years ago that have been through this process. That's just mind blowing. And that ripple effect of and how we show up every week. We just talked about this with our Lifebook group. Somebody asked, hey, I'm coming back for the second round of the book. Well, Allie and I will be on round 5, and we're still evolving. We're still learning stuff out of that book. Yeah. And it's just amazing how that works. But think of your health journey, and that happened for us. Our health journey happened for us. We were finally awakened to what was possible, and all of us are in progress, and we're moving forward. And we can use our testament and our story to lift up and inspire and share to others and give to others, so they can get the same feelings.
I want to say something real quick,
yeah.
just personally. So he says his dad was an alcoholic for the first 15 years of his life, and that they sort of lived in the collateral damage of his dad's battle with this disease. And, I hold or did or have held guilt for suffering from depression and anxiety through a big chunk of my children's childhood. And they and my husband suffered collateral damage from that. But the cool thing is, they saw me, fight with everything I had against it. And they saw me, making choices and sacrificing and walking away from things that I was scared to walk away from, in hopes that what I was walking towards was a much better way. And of course it was. And because of that, I have seen my children and my husband all grow in ways and believe in themselves and fight their demons. Yeah. and become stronger people. So while I want to beat myself up sometimes about having suffered for the amount of time that I did, and being disappointed that I didn't, get up out of that pit faster than I did, the beautiful thing God has shown me is that it doesn't matter. They saw how low I was, and they saw me fight to get out. And in that, there was collateral damage, but it also showed them that, holy crap, if Mom can do it, we can do it.
That's right. Now you got me crying.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, what you just said too. Since we started, it just goes to show you how much they love and care about you.
Mhm.
Um, because sometimes that doesn't always work that way. The spouse will run, get pissed off for whatever reason, and run. Um, it's tough, and I've had those thoughts, but I'm not going anywhere because I know that woman that I married is still in there.
Yeah.
For
Yep.
sure. Let's see, where am I at? I don't lost my whole.
Sorry.
You're
Talking
fine,
about,
you're
we're
fine.
right in the middle of that.
No, I thought it was great where he talked about how he could read people's body language, and he talks about that a lot. When
Yes.
if you go to one of his events and they do Q&A, and you're slouched over when you talk, he's going to tell you, put your shoulders back. And he's like, why? He'll call you out on that. I've seen him do that to like 3 people in the audience before. He'll call them out. Why are you slunched over? And the guy's like, well, I'm kind of embarrassed to talk to you. And he's like, why are you embarrassed? He said, you put your shoulders back. He said, this is how you got to show up. And he's like, the guy's like, well, I'm not as astute in business as you are. He said, doesn't matter. He said, you're moving forward, aren't you? And the guy's like, yeah. He said, put your shoulders back, put your chin up. He says, you're moving forward. Just because you're not a multimillionaire, he says, you're moving forward in your business. He said, if you were running in the ground, he said, you still keep your shoulders up because you're doing everything you can to make it work. So he talks about how his dad used to put the key into the lock. He would know whether he was drunk dad or sober dad.
Wow.
Just by the key going in the lock.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. I can hear that right now in my head. I have a similar situation with my dad. Of course, growing up in the grocery business, we lived in a trailer that was literally facing the store. It was 35 feet from the front of the store. So my dad could sit in his chair and look right out across the parking lot at the front of the store. So when dad would come home at night, and my dad was never an alcoholic, smoked 6 packs a day. And of course, he put that down many years ago. But he would come in the door, and you could tell sometimes about how he grabbed. And I thought about that because how he grabbed that screen door handle when he opened it. Was dad stressed out, or was dad in a good mood, or was dad pissed off when he walked through the door? Remember those 3 ways he grabbed the door, and I thought about that. So, yeah. He goes on to say, despite his dad's affliction, my father was my best friend, and I looked up to him. He was my hero, confidant, advisor, and the person I trusted above all others. He made me and my 3 sisters feel special, and we all thought about him in the same way. I thought it was interesting, and I listened to the Audible today. He asked his dad, when his dad said, him and his dad were in the car, and his dad said, son, I'm going to be going away for a while. And I'm going to go. He said, I've got one more opportunity to make this right. And Ed said he asked if he said, for some reason, he said, I just blurted out, Dad, what's going to be different this time? And he told Ed, he said, he talks about it in the book here, and I'll probably right over it. But he just said, because your mother deserves for me to be the father that I've always was meant to be. And, so Ed said he knew just by the way he had that conversation and how upset he got that this was going to be the real deal. Things were going to change. And then, I'm going to just kind of bounce around here because I kind of don't want to just sit here and read the chapter, but I thought it was interesting how Ed talks about how when he went to AAA and started helping others, and Ed said he never even knew about it for a while. And then it was almost like he was doing it in secret. But it's very similar to what we do. We get healthy in our bodies and then we pay it forward. And that's how we keep ourselves accountable. But just living one more day mentality. Sometimes in this health journey in the last 5 years, I've needed to go just one more day and not have a bunch of food, whatever it is, and I've had those days and those moments, and I've thought about that. And, so just like I said, you're either making a choice to move forward in your health or you're hitting the hammer on the nail into your coffin. So how, which choice are you going to make? And let's see. Anybody got anything I want to add before I move forward? I'm sorry. I'm kind of bouncing around tonight.
Don't you apologize. It's all good. Just keep rolling. It's good stuff.
I love where he says, one of the immutable laws of this is on page 240. One of the immutable laws of the universe is that everything comes with an expiration date. Let that sink in for a moment. Sooner or later, everything ends. No matter who you are, what you're going through, change will come to you. This is not meant to depress you. It's meant to create a sense of urgency in you. It's also to remind you that things are happening for you and not to you. At several times in your life, you'll reach the end of a journey and you'll come face to face with one more. In these times, you'll make choices that define your character and change the course of your life. Your world changes when you realize your days on earth are finite. Many people come to this realization earlier than others, and some are acutely aware of it, but can't break free from those heavy chains that they forged. At some point, we're all bound together by one more. We can't run from them, so we must learn to face them the best possible way. Learn to live your life the best way you know how before those days come.
Boom! Right there.
Yep.
I mean, if there was ever something to tattoo somewhere that people would see it every time they looked at you. I mean, that and I know you guys as coaches see this too, but when I'm on social media every single day, I see so many people and they're like, oh, I'm sick again, or, oh, like this is happening. I'm a victim of this. 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 And, I've seen a lot of people saying, I don't know where all my friends are. Like I'm thinking, the problem is we're all hurting, and some people are working on fixing themselves, and they can't. You're part of unhealthy surroundings for them now.
Yeah.
They have to love you from over here because you refuse to do anything differently. You keep living in this cycle and you're miserable there. But anytime anybody tries to give you like, hey, have you thought about, you shoot them down. That's not what it is, and I see this happening with so many people.
Yep.
And I just wish they would understand that your world changes.
Yep.
When you realize you don't have the time to live in indecision. You don't have the time to wait till you're strong enough or till you're not afraid. We don't have that gift of time. And it just breaks my heart. We all three have something that we can give, that they can start taking just one little tiny step out of those pits, but they have to take it from our hand.
Yep. For sure. I mean, and just like I talked, when we did that training back in September, I said, so many people have got their head in the sand right now.
Oh my gosh, Kenny.
Their heads in the sand at element 4. They're a victim. They're being a bully. They're calling people out on stupid shit. Sorry for that. I know that Jan's going to watch this. So many, they're just so
Sorry,
many.
Jan.
Yeah, love you, Jan.
I'm apologizing for Kenny.
But we've got to lead and show the way, and we've got to keep reminding them that there's a better way. And I'm going to go to page 245 where he talks a little bit more. There are 3 things I want you to know about one more. Live a one more life as often as you can. One more works best when you treat every day as a new life.
Oh, I love that.
Yep. Understand that it's never too late for one more. So when you live a one last, one more life, when you live a one last, one more life as often as you can, you approach life with a higher degree of urgency. So think about that. What if you were only allowed the one last, one more dance with the person you love? How would that be? Think about your life if you only had one last,
It's
one
hard to
more,
say it.
I know, one last, one more chance to tell your spouse that you love them. Considering how you would act if you, like my father, were given one last, one more chance to be a parent, sibling, child, or a friend you've always wanted to be. When you approach life with a one last, one more mentality, your priorities become clear because all the things doesn't matter. You are more grateful for God's gifts that have been given to you. You respect and appreciate time, and you will become a better human being.
And
I
I
guess-
want to say too that I think part of this one last, one more philosophy too is it's about being present.
Yes.
It's about when you're sitting somewhere with people, not having your mind running on something that happened, that's already happened, that you can't do anything about, and not sitting there and worrying about something that potentially could happen over here, but just being present in the moment. There's so many times in the last few years that I didn't realize that dinner out with that friend was the last time I was going to see him. That I have a good friend, his name is Charles Peters, and my last motorcycle trip with him, it was epic. We had the best time. I didn't know that was the last time I was going to ride with my friend.
Yeah.
You know, Matt and I talk about that all the time. Like, God, we didn't know. And the good news was we had an amazing trip and we loved every moment of it. And we don't look back and go, God, I wish I had, not done this. But it made me realize how important it is that one last, one more is presence.
Yeah. For sure. He goes on page 249 to say, I want you to understand is that to fully appreciate one last, one more, treat every day as a new life. There are no guarantees. You or someone you care about can be here one moment and gone the next. We just talked about that.
Yep.
Instead, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself this: every day I am alive, I am reborn. When you let go of your past, you create space for the here and now.
Mm.
You can bring energy and enthusiasm to the fleeting nature of the one last, one mores in your life. You can direct your energy to what matters and not things that will destroy your inner well-being and your relationships with others. When you treat every day as a new life, you'll find more enjoyment and bliss in the things that serve you well. If you must have a one last, one more conversation with someone, one last hug before a goodbye, or one last dance before someone you care about goes away, you can do so with a clear mind, free from the mental garbage that gets in the way of living your best life. Don't spoil today by lugging that garbage around. Instead, toss it away and get on with the things that matter.
Toss it. Toss that shiz.
And he goes on to talk about the third and final thing to know is it's never too late for one last, one more. And that's where he talks about when his father was on his deathbed and he couldn't hardly talk and speak. He had reached out to a guy who had a sobriety birthday that day. Even while he was in his deathbed, he did that. 20 minutes to live, basically, and he called and reached out to him. And but he said nobody was watching. Nobody would have known whether he made the call or not. However, because my father lived a one more life, this was an opportunity for him to help one last, one more human being. In the end, my father's one last, one more was a phone call to another person in need shortly before he passed away. And that's where he said, his mission is to try to help as many people in life as he possibly can. He said, I'm doing it to honor my father. And page 252, he says, when you find it in your heart to make one last, one more priority in your life, not only will you lighten the chains of another person, but you'll lighten your chains in life as well. He says, as I watched my father take his final breaths, it dawned on me that one day we'll all face one last, one more. our last year on earth, our last month, last week, and our last day, our last hour, and all too soon, our final breath. You can't control the end, but you can control the story in between. Your ability to live your best life is going to be shaped in large part by the one mores I revealed to you in this book. These thoughts and actions will build the story of your life. So when you do take the one last breath, you can be proud of the life you live. Don't wait for one last one mores to find you. Go after them with urgency and purpose. You'll unlock the most difficult and essential one more lessons you can learn when you do this. In doing so, you may unlock the secret to life itself.
I love it how he says, go after them with urgency
Yeah.
and purpose.
And think about that. What was that book we did? The seven habits of conscious leadership, the seven effective habits.
15. Oh no, 7. 7 habits of highly effective
habits
people.
of highly effective people. Live every day with the end in mind. Remember that?
Yeah.
Live every day with the end in mind. And
I need to reread that one.
yeah, that was a good one. That was when we did a book club one, if you recall. And what was it? What was the exercise that we did many years ago? Christina, you weren't around for this, but we did a retreat, and I gave everybody a homework assignment of writing your eulogy when you came to the retreat.
Was I there?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was we
After Alzheimer's.
yeah, we did that. What would you want people? Here again, how would you want your eulogy written or read when you pass away? We had to write that out. I made everybody write that out. So that was a really good exercise. It kind of makes you really think. And here again, it's not just like
I would do it so differently now.
Oh my God, yes.
Such a different place now than I was then, which is why I think I need to read that again.
Yeah, but I think going through that and doing that, it kind of woke some folks up because it takes that focus off the things. And just like he says, what is the one more thing you're going to do with urgency? Kind of puts those things on the forefront of your mind because you want to knock those out, because the last thing you want to do is die with regret. I didn't heal that relationship with that brother or sister or whoever. I'm just using that as an example. And how do you reach out with urgency now and repair it before it's too late. That way you don't regret it.
Yeah.
And so yeah. Final thoughts, ladies. Any final thoughts? I'm going to hit stop record. This is where we're going to stop.